folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show, a special show. Normally we are taking a break on Thursday and resting up, but tonight we come out of the closet and into the open, into this beautiful wonderland of spring coming right around the corner with my special guest tonight. As you all know him, Hawkeye, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you again, Robert. And for folks that have seen my ugly mug here up tonight, we usually do Tuesday nights. And but we've been discussing about this subject for a while, and it keeps getting bumped around one way or another for whatever reason. And so it came up before. So Robert's had some shows about NDEs, which is near-death experiences. And so I had talked to Robert a year ago just about it now. Yeah. About, I got a couple of things I'd like to talk about it. So here we are, we're catching up. So this is what tonight's about, right, Robert?
That's right. It started out, this started out about the time Delabor, as you all know, our good friend Delabor passed away. And we all got talking about him crossing over to the other side, and people then started talking about, near-death experiences with themselves or losing loved ones. I know you just lost your brother there. Sorry to hear that. But that's what I'm saying is we've I started on this journey then, kind of because Delabor passing away, really kind of affected me. I was really bummed. I still am bummed. I think about him quite a bit because, we had some good discussions. He knew so much. It was like I could ask him anything, and he really had some knowledge, and he really made me happy to talk with him. And after the show, we would talk and talk and talk and talk, sometimes for hours later. But that started me on that path. And I started talking about doing shows on death and what's after death. Are we prepared for death? Are we even instructed on how to die? Which leads us up to tonight. And there you go. I mean, what is your experience? I mean, now you've had some close calls here, even within the last couple of years. We almost lost you.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I wanted. One of the things I wanted to discuss was while I was in the hospital, having been there several times the last couple of years, the fact that they, with the anesthesia, they take you right to the edge of being dead. And you don't know nothing, you don't feel nothing, but your psyche is still working. Your subconscious is still going on. And many of you know, by the way, on my channel, it's been 9 years.
Wow.
9 years. But anyway, so I've been studying near-death experiences because I've had other things happen to me too. But one of the things is that there are a bunch of us old fogies up on the floor. And so I started talking with them. And the one gentleman, he walks in my room, we were having a chit chat, and he was like, man, when they put me out, he said, I was just in this white room. And I was like, what? And so then another gentleman on the same floor, he heard us talking, and he said, can I join in? And we was like, yeah. So the three of us are there in my room having a chit chat about what it's like to be so close to death in that situation. And what they described it first, but then I came in with mine. The floor was white, all the walls were white, the ceiling was white, but it was an opaque white. It was almost like there was a light coming from behind the walls and floor and everything, but it wasn't lit. And all of us agreed. And then there was a little old lady across the hall, and she was like, I agree with y'all, And so wherever that is, a lot of us have experienced, and I mean, talking with these other folks, I always ask their opinion first before I give them mine, because then I don't want to taint what they're about to say. But both of those gentlemen talked about the White Room, and then I told them mine, and they were like, "Yep, that's what it was. That's what it was." You know. So apparently, there are a lot of folks that are having these experiences. Now, there are folks out there who would go, "Well, you were just under anesthesia. That's not really being like dead." Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. You are so close, because why do you think you sign that your name on that piece of paper in case you go on and die? You know, they're going to notify your next of kin. So, but the thing is that over the years, I've talked with several people, but just recently, just this last year with that last operation I had, you know, talking with these folks, that was the most recent event. Within the last 6 months, I've had this conversation with 5 other people, and we all agree on the White Room. So now what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? There are a lot of folks who, oh, you know, when they were out or they were dead, you know, they spoke to Jesus and God. No, I am not discounting that, okay? Not a bit. But the times that I have been there and other people that I've talked to, they've all been in the White Room. I had one friend of mine that I've known for 30 years. He had open heart surgery about a year and a half ago. And he said, David, he said, they had to, you know, shock me 3 or 4 times to get my heart started and for me to come back. He said, I'm an ornery fellow. He said, I didn't know whether I was supposed to stay or go. And I said, so Randy, what was it like? And he said, well, I was in this White Room.
Yeah.
And I was like, almost nothing else mattered after he said White Room, you know, but he was like,
Really?
you know, I heard this voice and it was like, you know, you're not supposed to stay here. You got to go back. So there have been voices in the White Room, but for the folks that I spoke with, nobody's seen anything in the White Room. They can hear a voice, or a lot of times it's an impression of a voice. Because I've asked the question, well, did you really hear it? Because, you know, you're knocked out. You know, you're almost dead. Did you physically hear it? Or, you know, did you think it? Or, you know, so how did you hear it? And about half of the time, the feeling is that they hear it. So I don't know what that means, but that the sensation is they've actually heard words that came through their ears, you know? So
there is such a thing. I Googled it while you were talking, and I Googled it. When I Googled it, it came right up. I mean, so I mean, it's obvious that people are having these experiences quite often. Let's see. In near-death experiences, some individuals report encountering a white room or a bright, seemingly empty space, just like you were talking, often accompanied by feelings of peace and well-being, or something the sense of vast emptiness or isolation. Was that your thoughts?
Except, wait, go back up. Except for the vast emptiness or isolation. But one thing I can say is the White Room had walls, but it didn't. So you didn't really know how big the room was. But I never got this feeling of emptiness or isolation. It was obvious it was empty, okay? But let's see, what does it say? Bright. Well, the brightness, it really wasn't bright. It was just lit from our experience, often accompanied by feelings of peace and well-being. That's absolutely true. The calmness, everybody I've talked to, the calmness and everything, they were like, man, you know, do I have to go back? You know.
Well, let's go on with it a little more.
10 cents worth. I've never read this before, by the way. So what I just told you was my and these other people that I met in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what?
They all had the same. What?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, okay, so they all had the same interpretation even before you told them yours.
Yes.
Yeah, which is cool. It's very cool.
And go ahead.
Oh, so let's go on with this. It says here more detail. The more details. They're often characterized as a sense of peace. You talked about that. A feeling of separation from the physical body. An encounter with a bright light, often described as loving or confronting. Any thoughts on that? You said you did feel peace, right?
Yes, and it's kind of weird. I think it's because that ahead of time you're fixing to get operated on. And for me, I had chit chat with the anesthesiologist where they put me out, and it's like I kind of knew it was going to happen. So the feeling of emptiness, or what was that other thing? The separation from the physical body. Yeah, you kind of knew it was because you were being operated on. There was some, you had pre-knowledge of this going in, but somebody who might have been hurt in an accident or knocked out real bad or something like that, they didn't have any pre-warning, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I think the psyche has been prepared enough by the hospital staff and everything, but if you've had an accident and you've had an NDE in that way, the events might not necessarily be the same. Do you follow?
Yes, I agree. I mean, think about it. If you're out hiking and you fall off a cliff and you end up in a white room, that's a totally different setting. I would be freaking out, but it would be calming because everything you were thinking, you ain't waking up at the bottom of a rock cliff with a stick stuck through your gut or your leg all twisted up and broken. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I having been in the white room a few times, I don't know if I had fallen off a cliff and I lay broken at the bottom that I would necessarily feel calm in the white room, because the psyche and the conscious unconscious thing are all connected. So I'm sure that pain would make a difference in that aspect.
Well, but in the white room, you're not feeling any of that pain or your body or what's going on around you, are you?
But see, that's what I mean by those of us who I've talked to that were in hospital situations, where we had pre-knowledge that we were going to be right down in there, right? Yeah. So, but having fallen off a cliff, that's sudden. So, we had painkillers in us when they operated on us. So the idea of, because, being cut open and all that good stuff, but, they shoot you, full of that good juice, but you fall off a cliff, you're hurting, so there isn't anything to kill those pain receptors. So I'm suggesting that there might be some panic in that white room, is all I'm saying. These other times were all kind of mild and mellow and, how I got there kind of thing. But there's only two incidents that I was there that were traumatic. So, yeah. And I'll talk about them in a minute.
Okay. Well, the white room is, let's see, some individuals part entering the space are described as white bright lights. We kind of talked about that. It's like a transition area. Did you feel like you were in that transition area? But like you said, they told you, hey, or you're not. You're just waiting, but you're not going.
We all agreed it was sort of like a waiting room.
Just in case something went wrong, right?
We didn't. There wasn't any particular. There was no time in there. That's absolutely. Okay. There was no time in there. And so but the time in there was peaceful. It was calm. And, but so, you know, it was like, so, what are we there for? Well, that's sort of my point. We were, with pre-op, we were told what was going to happen. We're going to put you way under. And so I think the subconscious mind had already smoothed over a little bit. So when we get to that point in the brain where we're almost dead, that the subconscious says, it's okay. Don't freak out. It's okay. Don't freak out. So that's my own supposition. But when I talk with the other folks, they did not seem panicked or anything in any way, each in for a different thing, but we were all in the white room. So, but there didn't seem to be any panic. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It makes sense because if there was stuff in there, it would take your mind, distract you, and you're supposed to be calm. It's not I suppose being in the white room doesn't lead you on to think that you're possibly going to the other side, nor does it say that you're having experience with your past relatives or anybody like that. So it's like you said, it's just kind of a holding space. It's neither here nor there, and like you said, it's just time stands still for you, but gives you a safe space to be in that moment.
Yeah, everybody that I spoke with, including myself, it was like it was a really cool place to hang out. And for me now, I've been doing this mental thing for since I was 12. Yep. And so at 72, I've been at this a while. So I can't speak for the other old folks that I spoke to because, the one guy was an old redneck farmer and, and these kinds of things were new to him. So, but his description of things was eerily the same. But, for me to look at it from the inside was like, so what was that white space like? So did you hear anything while you're so in my own brain, I'm going down and checking lists and stuff like that. So where other people were just like, it was just a white room. Well, how did you feel? Well, I was calm. Did you feel bad? I mean, I remember being calm. Well, were you sitting, standing, or anything? I was in the white room. I mean, because it's the white room. There's nothing in there that's descriptive. There are no corners to the rooms or to the room or to whatever. But for us, it seemed to be a wall somewhere.
Yes. So did you never met anybody in the white room while you were there? Just you?
These last few times I was there, no. Now I had 2 operations 2 years ago, back to back, literally back to back, because that's what they operated on. And after the first operation, I had some really weird stuff going on, head-wise and otherwise. And then a week later, I had to go back in for almost the exact same operation. They had to open me back up because I had a blood clot along my spine. But that first time was really strange. And I've tried to quantify it. And then I had the second operation a week later. And then that one kind of run into the first one. And I was like, I haven't been able to separate them since then. But all I can remember is that first one, 2 years ago was really weird.
Yeah.
It seemed like for me, there was confusion in the white room.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's go with some of these things here. Why couldn't it be a transitional place of life or death? Like I said, I think you're talking about a holding space because you're not quite dead and you're not quite alive. That, like you said, they put you under to just the point of before you kick the bucket. You know what I mean?
And the quiet reflection that is there. Yep.
Symbol of purity or divinity.
Wait, hang on. to end that sentence, preparation for the next stage of existence. No, what I would say is it gives you a view of what the next stage of existence could be.
Could be, yeah.
Because all of us agreed that we're like, man, we was in the white room. Well, is that purgatory?
Yeah, it's a good
Go
question.
ahead.
Okay. Symbol of purity or divinity. The whiteness and brightness could symbolize purity, peace, or divine presence. Did you feel a divine presence?
I would say it felt, now this is me and y'all know me. I'm that, crazy shaman guy. But other people might experience that they felt the presence of God. What I felt was an extreme presence of the universe.
Oh, that's a way to put it.
I really feel a part of it thing. But not necessarily, but see, I'm different in that. But the divine presence, sort of. But for me, it was more of a quantum, sacred creator kind of thing.
Yep. Interesting. That's nice. Okay. Negatives. In some cases, white room could be a source of fear or panic, particularly in inverse. I don't know what they mean by inverse NDEs, where the white light or space is perceived as threatening. Did you at any point in time feel threatened? Or never? No fear, no panic.
None of the people that I spoke with had that feeling. I mean, the old lady across the hall, if I would have thought that there was going to be somebody that was going to be a little freaky about it, she was like, it was a little weird, but I wasn't scared. So.
Okay. One of the last ones here is some people report near-death experience.
Can I go back to that for a second?
Yeah, no.
The negative things and being scared.
Yes.
There are folks that have that while they're conscious. They're paranoid of things. They're scared of certain stuff. And I mean, I think they carry that with them. But the folks that I talked to in their own life, they were comfortable in their life. They were comfortable with who they were. And, the old lady, she lived in a house and blah, blah, blah. And everything. She was old, but she was getting along. And same thing with the farmer. He's like, blah, blah, blah. And the other guy, so, but I think that we were, one of the answers to that is that we were all settled, if you will. But there are people who I've met who are, nervous, ticky, others like this all the time. I could see where they would have issues because in their real life, they're paranoid and scared all the time. So I could see where they would easily carry that into this NDE.
I see. Yeah, because it's a new thing. I mean, not everybody studies death. Not everybody wants to know, I mean, some people never think about what all the things that we talk about on the show. They never give it a second thought. They just some people are very religious and all they can think about is when I die, I'm going to see God. I'm going to, go to the white light. I'm going to, have all these things happen that I've been told. And when that does actually happen, like we've talked about death quite a few times on the show. And the thing is that we never get told how to die or what's going to happen. It's on like TV shows and movies and we just have to assume. And so none of this becomes reality until it's reality. And then it's like, now it's scary.
And yeah, because I was scared of dying a bunch about 10 years ago. And then I realized I just had to, I had to have that essential come to Jesus meeting, and, but in doing so, I got killed a couple of times, literally. I drowned the one time. And then the second time I was, it was heat exhaustion.
Really?
Yeah. That was fun. No, it wasn't. But
Okay.
the first time was drowning, and that's sort of self-explanatory. And it was at nighttime on the Oclockney River, and we were doing a moonlight full moon paddle, and the a log came in from behind me upstream and hit me from behind, and I went under. Oh, well, we weren't done, were we? Go ahead with the last one.
Oh,
Avoid.
well,
Some people.
I think I'm waiting for. I was hoping for to hear the story now. Trin, what happened? A log hit you in the back, and then what happened?
I went under and almost drowned. But wait, let's see.
Okay. Okay, we're done with the negative. We can go to the void. Some people report a near-death experience of the void, which is an onychological encounter with a perceived vast emptiness, often a devastating scenario of loneliness or aloneness, isolation, and sometimes alienation.
No, that's annihilation.
Or annihilation. Okay, sometimes annihilation.
Yeah, I'd rather have an alienation than annihilation.
Annihilation. Yeah, sorry.
But again, I would see now when having been drug under the water and couldn't. I know how to swim. I could not get up to the surface. I was paddling, I was pulling, and I was like, "Uh-oh, this is it." And I got down to, a little bit of air still left in my lungs, and I still don't know how I made it to the surface. But I remember my buddy was shining a flashlight down in the water, trying to see if he could see me to grab a hold of me to yank me up. But I asked him, I said, "You pulled me up, right?" And he goes, "No." He said, "I was still trying to find you." And I was like, "Then how did I get to the canoe, and how come I'm holding?" But anyway, a lot of weird things happen in a short period of time. So, but the white room in that case was terrifying in that, holy crap, I'm drowning, Yeah. So that's why I say it depends on your modus operandi before you get to the white room. So I was in a panic. I was drowning. I was fighting. So when I got to the white room in that respect, it was not very calm. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the second time was a few years later, and I was down in
I got a question for you for a second here.
Go ahead.
Let me back up. So, we know you were in the river, you're drowning, you're in the white room for a minute or so. How long did it feel like you were there before you ended back up in the boat?
Well, all I had was a hand on the boat. I never got back. It took me an hour to get back in the boat, but I don't remember breaking the surface. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The last I remember was I was still underwater. I don't know if you can see. I was under the water and the flashlight was above me, and I was reaching up and couldn't break the surface. And but I could see that the light was right there, and it just kind of dissolved in a way into whiteness. Instead of being a flashlight, it dissolved into whiteness. And then I was like, that's how I know I was in the white room, because the flashlight wasn't a flashlight anymore, So, but to the same point, I don't know if I just kept flailing and I just finally got to the surface and my hand got a hold of the canoe. That's all I can imagine.
Wow. Interesting. Let's see, we got to go back. I wanted to hear that because I was kind of curious, because you're trying to swim and yet you're in the white room at the same time. You know what I mean?
And I've got something that's pulling me underwater. Yeah. It's not like I had just went under. And no, there's something that's trying. To this day, I think there was a demon after me, but that's another story. But because I know how to swim, I should have been able to break up out of the top for no problem. But I felt something pulling on my trouser leg, and it was tugging on me. You know, it could have been something underwater or whatever. Whatever it was not letting me get to the surface.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you that things like that happen. Scientific. Let's go to what the scientists say. While NDEs are often viewed through a spiritual or metaphysical lens, some researchers are exploring possible psychological or physiological explanations for these experiences. Now, do you think, that it is going to be able to be scientifically explained away by some scientist who says, your brain just blanked out, and you were in a panic and it sent adrenaline to it, and and that's the end of the story, because I know scientists, that's what they want to say. So you go, well, there's nothing to it.
In my humble opinion,
yeah,
hell no.
Well, and see, that's the thing, is I agree with that, because it's happening to a lot of people. They're all saying the same thing, or a majority of them that get to the white room are saying something. And once you get enough people who say the same thing without contacting each other, you have to say there's more to it than, there's nothing to it. It's like, so now it has to become real. Even if only 1% of those, thousands of people, are telling the absolute truth. Because, a lot of people, ad lib and never happens to them, but they believe it happened to them. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And that's why I said early on, I'm not trying to discount anybody that's talked to Jesus or God or whatever. It's okay. But everybody I've talked to, over the years, probably about 20 people at least, physically, sit down and, have a conversation. And most of those people were Christian too, by the way. So,
yeah.
But none of them had that feeling that, Jesus was fixing to give them a message. But now there are those folks who have had profound NDE experiences, and I don't doubt them. But for all the folks that I've talked with, for every time I've been there myself, and for every time that I've talked with somebody else, my skepticism goes up.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I'm just none of us have been there. None of us that I've talked to. Plus, I didn't know that when you did a Google search that you were going to repeat almost everything I said. And I've never read that before.
Yeah. I just Googled it while you were talking, because I've never heard it before. So then the thing comes to that it is a really happening to people, not everyone, because even in the chat here, people are saying, like Scotty Boy says, he says, I was flying around the room. I didn't see Lucky says, in his experience, no white room, just voices of support. So, and Scotty Boy says, no white room. I was flying around the room in the nowhere. I don't know what the nowhere is, but it's somewhere, I guess, but the nowhere. And the last time was 3 years ago. So, pretty common thing. Some people, I do believe that's an outer body experience, because there are different scenarios, correct?
Yes.
And have you ever had the outer body experience besides the white body?
Yeah. I have astral projected a bunch of times over the years. I lost count.
So you know the difference then. You know the difference
to talk about.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. When I'm astral projecting, I'm not in a white room. I'm going out someplace. I'm going to a place. Where in the white room, you just kind of, oh, look, I'm in the white room. Versus if I'm going to astral project, I try to have a destination. So then you see it, be it, whatever. But, with the NDE, it's you're there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't travel there, you're there.
Okay, you're there.
Yeah, the void. Yep. I'm null and void. Trust me.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We're trying to learn on this stuff today because obviously other people even in the chat here have had these experiences or something similar. So just even in our small group, it is not unheard of. I mean,
or uncommon.
Or uncommon. Yeah, you're exactly right. So it's something to be expected. So don't panic, people. When this stuff happens, stay calm. Look around you and maybe, because we're trying to learn something. We're trying to learn.
Let me tell you that my most profound one.
Yes, I want to hear.
The drowning was pretty profound, but as far as endurance, it was short. So about a year and a half later, I was on the same river, the same stretch where I had the drowning incident. I wanted to go to that area because I wanted to be there when the river was down to look at it. What was it like? I remembered that, during the night there was a tree there and there was a something. So I wanted to go back in the daytime, and it just so happened to be in the summertime, really hot. To find the place where I drowned, right? So I'm down on the Ochlockonee. It's hotter than hell. It's like the 4th of August that year. Middle of dog days, by the way. I got to set this up a little bit. So I get to the river with the canoe and me and my little dog Sasha, and going down the river, and the river's really low. Well, on the Ochlockonee, there are some places that can be 10 foot deep in one spot and 3 inches deep in another when it's low. So this is one of them instances. So there were stretches where it was deep and stretches where I had to pull that canoe. Well, I was pulling the canoe over a log it's a big old piece of rope now, mind me, but it broke and sent me falling backwards in the mud, and I landed over a log on my back, staring up at the sky, going, oh shit. I couldn't move. And I'm laying there just going, oh shit. I couldn't even roll over on my side. So I laid there for a long time. My little dog licking my face, and I keep trying to move over one side to the other. And I finally rolled over on my left and got on my knees and got back over to the canoe. And I was a good ways up the river. And I just realized that I just need to find a place to beach and get out of the sun, which is what I did. It took me the rest of the evening and in the summertime, don't get dark till 8:30. So up and all that time, I'm literally groaning and moaning and pushing this canoe to get me to where there's some shade. Now, I had not intended to be there, but for that evening, I was headed back to my truck. Well, I couldn't move. I couldn't get the canoe back because I had to go over several humps to get back. So, and by that time, I was dehydrated from all the everything that I had done. So I crawled up the bank, which was about 12 foot high. I got up the bank, and on the Ochlockonee, there are places where when the water's up, it digs out little spots, little divots all along the way. And there are palmetto bushes that grow around them. So I had crawled up into one of those little dips between the palmetto bushes and snuggled down in the sand where it was cool. And I got as close to Mother Earth, like almost throwing sand on myself, and covered up with a couple of palm fronds. And as I laid there panting, going, what did I get myself into? I looked back across the swamp. Now, I'm saying look back because on this side of me was the river and the bank. So I look back across the swamp and I see these figures walking away from me. And I'm like falling asleep and I'm looking and I'm like, what the hell is that? That looks like a couple of ghosts. Who is that? And the figure in the middle turned around and it was me. Huh? And on either side of me was an angel. And they were walking me across the swamp, you know, through the trees. And I was like, what the hell is this? And the one angel turned and said, just go on, it'll be okay. Meaning go on to sleep. And I was just like, oh no, this can't be. And it was a long time before I woke up. And when I did, all the tiredness, all of the dehydration. Now, I went with 2 little Debbie cakes and 1 thing of water and 1 quart of Powerade for 3 days on the river. That's all I had. And it was 103 in the shade during the day. So the fact that I didn't have anything to eat, I didn't have anything to drink, and you don't drink low swamp water, you know, unless you got something to purify it with. And but you know, I was to the point where I was like sipping a little bit of water just to get my mouth wet. But when I woke up after that and the angels brought me back, there was a sense of rejuvenation. And I was like, well, can I get my canoe back to the truck, or am I going to have to walk, or, you know, what's the deal? So I took it easy, and that was one of the really good solid times where I started to learn as a shaman in training how to pay attention and listen to the universe. And my spirit guides were saying, just do it easy. Just stay calm. Just do it easy. When you get to a hard spot, ask for help. It took me a bunch of hours to get back, but I made it back to the truck. And here I am to this day. So, you know, but in that white room scenario, oh, buddy, it was a strange one in that how I got there. And I was in limbo for physically hours. I mean, you know, they would have never found me. I'm telling you, they would have never found me where I was stuck between them 2 palmetto bushes, and the fact that I was almost covered up. They would have never found me there. Never.
Mm-hmm. Well, you had your dog with too yet, right?
Yeah, little Sasha. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they would eventually found you, but who would have been looking? I mean, you were gone for 3 days, and then nobody come looking for you?
Nope.
Wow.
Nobody cared back then. They really didn't care. I do have friends now that would be, he's been gone for a few days now. Where's he at? You know.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing is, you know, I think about that myself sometimes, you know, being way out here in the middle of nowhere. You know, eventually somebody, you know, now I made contacts and said, hey, you know, you don't hear from me. This is what you should do. You know, I told them at work, hey, you don't hear from me. Maybe you should send somebody out just in case. But still, you know, there's a lot of time in between now and whenever, you know. I mean, today it's going to get cold out. I had to go way out in the pasture today with the 4-wheeler, and it got really cold, and the sun was going down. I was looking for the dogs, and I'm thinking, oh man, if something would happen, and you know, it's getting cold already. I got a mile walk back to the house if I break down, and what if I trip in one of these big holes? And now I'm out here and I didn't bring my cell phone, and you know.
And who knows that you're in the field?
That's right. That is right. Nobody would know. They would think I'm in my house.
Yep.
I was calling as loud as I could for those dogs, but there's nobody around. There's no neighbors. There's nothing. I mean, it's just there. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I know what you
having
mean.
been out there, I can. I was amazed at how open it is. I'm like,
Yeah.
holy
Yeah.
crap. But
You've
yeah,
seen some of my videos. My
yeah.
videos that I made with my drone, my little drone I get up there, and I got some more to put out, but yeah,
No, I haven't seen those. For
oh, yeah.
some reason, I still ain't signed up to your other channel, but that's probably why I haven't seen them. Yeah, I know.
Shame.
Shame. But but anyway, to kind of sort of wrap up some of this that we were talking about a half hour ago, what does this have to do? Wait, what does this have to do with all of us having the same experience? Okay. And this is my 10 cents. Okay. A quarter's worth. Having had a bunch of these, especially in the last 2 years, but having had quite a few operations over the years before now,
Mm-hmm.
I had one where I was in the operating room, looking down and watching the surgeon perform the operation. And when I saw him next, I said, "Hey, doc, what was that thing you were doing to my neck?" And he goes, "How do you know what I was doing?" And I said, "Because I was watching you." And he said, "You're full of shit." And I'm like, dude. So he operated on me 3 times, actually. And the second time I said, "Okay, I watched you again. Now, what was that you were doing?" He goes, "You really did watch me, didn't you? Because there's no way you should know what I was doing." And I was like, proof positive. So, and that was back in the 80s, so for some folks, they weren't even born then. But so I've been having these experiences for a long time. So I've had the opportunity to think about them and, study astral projection and practicing and all that kind of stuff. So why am I explaining that? Because a lot of people haven't been through what I have just in trying to understand it. Okay. Not that they haven't been into the white room or whatever, but my point being that tried to analyze this. So in my analyzing the last few years and trying to understand better since they started talking about the quantum, and that this is the quantum and that's the thing. And so I believe, and after this last year, I really feel it, that we are absolutely a part of the quantum, every single one of us. And I think that somewhere in our quantum awareness that we all have, okay, that's hard to describe and hard to, articulate. But because each one of us are part of the quantum, and because each one of us are a part of it, then we have some kind of attachment to the white room. You follow me?
Yeah. Yes,
because
I do.
We're all talking about it, but nobody has talked to the other guy. But how come we know all this shit about the same thing? How come we talk about the same exact things? None of us met the other guy. So, but in this quantum understanding, that I continue to, thank you, spirits, for enlightening me and things. But I would say that for folks who are like panicked or scared, like I used to be, those kinds of things. My brother passed away 3 weeks yesterday. And my sister, we talked and everything. And my sister and I were talking, and she said, "David, I got there 5 minutes after he quit breathing." She said his body was still warm, and she said he had a smile on his face. Through all the pain and turmoil and everything that he's been through in his life, a week of being in a coma, and lots of other things in his lifetime, she said there he was, peaceable, with a smile on his face, having just left, But with that
Yeah.
said, though, she said, you know, how peaceful. So I know that there are folks out there that have had some really horrible endings. My adopted mother, Becky, she went through a bunch of chemo and a bunch of stuff, and she looked like she had come out of Auschwitz by the time she passed away. My pops, on the other hand, had a bad heart attack, and it put him in the hospital, and it took him 3 months to finally come back to tell us goodbye. But he came back long enough, and he said, "David, unplug me." And 3 days later, he was in a coma again. And 2 days after that, because we didn't want to unplug him on Thanksgiving, we unplugged him. So he knew when he came back. He told me and gave me instructions. So what's on the other side of this? Apparently, it was good enough the pops wanted to go back. I mean,
Yeah.
so, you know, it's like, if you really want to be here, you'll fight. 3 months in a coma, and he comes back to say goodbye.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was so bad, why aren't you fighting, Pops? Well, why don't you want to stay? Unplug me. You know, I'm going to do this on my own. Unplug me. Yeah. So, to my thing about this quantum stuff, everybody I've talked to about the White Room, none of us are panicked.
Yeah.
None of us are panicked. Well, what happens if something happens? None of us are panicked. It's like, well, what if something happens to you? Well, I'll go to the White Room. Well, what about something? If something happens to you, I'll go to the White Room. So we're not panicked about it. You know, oh, what about, you know, the devil, and what about this, and heaven, hell, blah, 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 blah. If it was that bad, the people that I have, like my pops, that came back after being in comas, who were like, no, man, I want to go back. If it was bad, they wouldn't want that. I'm just saying.
That's right. I totally agree with that. If there was, you know, that's why, you know, when people are going to the other side, they don't come back and say, oh my God, I haven't heard one of them yet that said, I went there and it was so terrible. You know, it was a fiery pit of hell, and I was getting, I'm sure there are some, but, you know, most people aren't talking about that. So either most people are really good or it doesn't exist.
Well, I think the hell is in the turmoil and the torment in ourselves. We, in this statement of that we create our own hell, I do. The more I'm alive, the more I believe it, because you know, there was no hell in the White Room for any of us, none of us. You know, and it's like, if anybody should have seen some flames, it should have been me. You know, I should have seen that somebody had turned the broiler on. You know, woo-hoo. But you know, the fact that there was no panic, there was no panic. That's the, you know, the biggest thing. It's like, it's sort of like you're not really sitting, but you're there and you're going, this is interesting. Oh, wow, I wonder how far it is to the wall. Look, the ceiling looks like it's, well, I guess it's higher up. I mean, you know, for me, I was looking at my surroundings and all that kind of stuff. And what was I going to say about surroundings?
Well, Sunset Dreamer says after the White, I think you missed it, or he missed it. After the White Room, then what happens? And I think you've answered that part. I mean, even though it kind of leaves us in this imaginary area, you're not moving on. So you're in the White Room. You're not going anywhere. You're not going until you go back, which is into your body again, right?
Yeah, but the going on, I can't answer that because I didn't go.
That's
none
true.
Of the 10 times that I've been there, I have decided to come back and talk to y'all. But even my friend Randy, who had been out like for 5 minutes trying to paddle him back from his open heart surgery, he was like, I was in this white room and they just kept saying, Randy, you got to go back. It's not your time. Randy, you got to go back. It's not your time. But he didn't see anybody, but he heard, you know? So, but
Yeah.
same white room. And he was, you know, they were shocking the crap out of him, trying to wake him back up. So that's pretty traumatic. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
Myself, I did not have that, you know, type of trauma to come back awake. But I think the trauma and the hell is what we have come to believe in our lives. And it
Yeah.
becomes part of our psyche and our, a part of our psyche and our consciousness and our unconsciousness. So it's not just part of it, but it's all of us. So folks who are really, you know, believing in Jesus kind of thing, he's going to come back and he's going to raise us from the dead. You know, if you are really serious into that, then you carry that with you after you go. You know what I mean? So I think the white room is the opportunity to go, wait a minute, what's this all about? You know, I mean, seriously, but the beyond it, from what I have asked and for them to have my spirit guides to explain to me, because I've asked, so what comes after this? And they were like, kind of more of the same, you know, so there's awareness, you know, so it wasn't like I knew I was me. We all knew who we were, but we weren't physical, but we still had our consciousness, you know? And so even though we weren't conscious, we were still conscious. You know what I mean? This is like paradoxical at best. And so you're awake, but you ain't, but you are, but you know, but we all remembered it.
Yeah.
You know, we all remembered certain sequences. We all, you know, and we could talk about it amongst ourselves, you know, and now it's on a piece of paper. I didn't know it was there. But so there are other people that are having the same thing. So I seriously think that it's connected with the quantum and the spiritual quantumness of it all.
Yep.
You know, Hook, there was no review. None of us saw anything flash before our eyes. None of us. And the 10 times I've been out, nope.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is you're going and if they're telling you there's more of this on the other side, it makes sense, because why would you have some totally new system over there than you do here? I mean, it's the way of the universe. It's just like the sun is in the middle of the solar system, then the planets revolve around, and then the solar system revolves around the universe or the galaxy, and the galaxy revolves around the universe, and the, you know, so forth and so on. Everything goes round and round something else. So if like Joanne says, if hell is real, well, then there's hell here too, right?
I'm beginning to, is there a hell on earth, or is there a hell somewhere? But hell is the absence of God. Hell is the absence of anyone. Imagine being cast adrift in the white room with nothing else for eternity. That would be hell.
That could be somebody's hell.
Doesn't have anything to do with fire and all that kind of stuff and brimstone. That's all man-made stuff, okay? But the true hell of the human experience, of the psyche of everything, would be to go to the great beyond, or get stuck in that white room all by yourself with nobody to talk to, nobody to interact with, or nothing. You're just there.
Yeah.
For eternity. You're just there. And you go, well, no, but I mean, you know, the moving on part is like, this is the picture I get. I'm in the white room, you know, by the Cream. One of my favorite songs of all time. But you're in the white room, and if it was such that something had happened and I didn't wake up, I think that there would have been a door that it would have opened somewhere, and I would have walked out into whatever was next.
Yeah. Yeah, you can imagine, just like here, that's, and then you were back. There was no walking out of the room. It was 1 minute you're there, and then it's just gone, and you're back, right?
Yeah, man. And the reason I say that there would be a door, okay, is because while I was there, and all of us discussed this, we'd look down and there was a floor, but there wasn't. There would look to the right and left, there was a wall, but there wasn't. Same thing with the ceiling, right? So we all somehow thought there were walls and a floor and a ceiling. So why wouldn't I think there would be a door to let me out?
It's
you
true.
Follow me? So it's like, oh, I'm in here, floor, ceiling, walls. Well, but if my time's up in the white room, then somebody wouldn't they open up the door and let me out? You know what I mean? Get me out of the waiting room and let me go into, population.
Yeah.
But, so.
Makes sense. And he says, you might have floated out. Well, it was a blink of an eye.
Very possibly. Well, I wasn't really walking. I really wasn't standing. So probably I would have floated out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing. Did you try to walk around or move around or just stand there and kind of like, wow, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what's going on,
Well, I seem to have drifted around.
Yeah, that makes sense. You were floating.
It's like, I'd go a little bit to my right and I'd walk. I say walk because it was a perception of walking. Was I actually walking? No. Because I'm laying on the table, strapped down. Yeah. No, I ain't walking.
Yeah.
So in my mind, and because I have played with this stuff over the years, while I was in the white room, I realized that, oh, this is sort of like astral projection, but it ain't, So I was making these correlations, observations, as to what I remember and feel as astral projection versus white room participation. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, the thing that's the thing. You understood it a little more. So you're making reasonings between the two while you're there versus somebody who has never studied on it, never learned anything about it, never had an event in their life. The first time is going to be like, what am I doing? Where is this? I can just imagine all the things I would be asking myself because I got nothing else to compare it with.
Right. And that little old lady, she was like, this is new,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They know most people don't experience a lot of things in their life. They grow up in a house, they go get a job, they get married, have kids, they live in 1,000 feet away from their where they grew up in their family's house. They live in the same town. They don't really go anywhere, do much of anything, and they grow old and die. Maybe moving once or twice in their life, and that's it. At the most, and then all of a sudden you give them some new scenario they're unfamiliar with. It's very shocking, stressful, or it's confusing.
I've got a message coming in from my spirit guides, and they're saying that, people who study religion and who are very religious and who, if you were a Buddhist and, you studied that a lot, and if you were a Christian and you studied Jesus and the Bible a lot, then you will probably, because of your psyche and because of the quantum energy, the quantum field that each of us, we are our own quantum field, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when we go into the white room, we're still a part of the quantum field.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
a lot of folks don't quite understand that, simply because, we're unconscious. We're still a part of the spiritualness of it. We're still a part of the universe. So with being a part of the universe, my spirit guides are saying folks who are very immersed in their religion, those are the ones who are going to panic in that, oh my God, am I going to hell? Oh my God, did I pray enough? Oh my God. And those are the folks that might have their life flash before their eyes. I've had my life flash before my eyes so many times. They gave up. But, just somebody else, that might actually happen,
Yeah.
especially in a true death scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I keep coming back to the quantum thing. We program our own quantum computer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm
Yeah.
studying shamanism. I'm studying astral projection. I'm studying the balance of nature and how things are all connected. Totally different from what the normal Christian's doing, going to church on Wednesday night and listen to the preacher. So not the same kind of aura or, you know, um, programming for my particular quantum field. So they're programming theirs with Christianity and the preacher and the hellfire and the brimstone. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
when you die, when you pass, you carry that with you.
Yeah.
So if you believe heaven is some pearly gates, if you find yourself in the white room, you're going to be looking around for where's the pearly gates? Where's St. Peter?
Yeah.
Because that's what your consciousness has been loaded to look for, or that's what's going to happen to you when you die or whatever. So for me, especially in these last 20 years, I've been studying, more of the shaman's path and the Native American and, and all these other different traditions. So I have not programmed my psyche or my, quantum computer the same as other folks. So when I'm there, I can actually look around and go, "Ooh, this is cool," because I'm aware of myself in the white room. Where when
Mm-hmm.
I talk with these other folks, they weren't aware of it till they got out, kind of thing. It was like, yeah, white room. I was in a white room, man. But the awareness while they were there was like, I'm in a white room, and that was it. Where for me, I was like, oh, look, I'm in the white room, huh? This is like, so I'm doing these comparisons and stuff. Where
Yep.
these other old folks, now they're all, well, three of them were older than me. So, that
Yeah.
was the youngin' of the group, by the way, of these five that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I absolutely feel that what you preload into your psyche and into your own personal quantum computer that's what you're going to feel, at least at first, when you get to the other side. Because what other reference are you going to have? You know, what else?
Yeah.
What is your belief? Well, my belief is I want to go roaming around the universe. So where am I going to go? Hopefully, roaming around the universe. Other people want to go to the pearly gates. Not me.
Yeah.
But that's what
Mm-hmm.
they expect, and that's what I think that they will
I know.
search for.
Well, yeah, it's a calm, safe space. So if you that's what you believe, if I mean you were planning on going to the pearly gates and you showed up and it was just it was a city street with a bunch of people running up and down, and you're like, oh my God, it would freak you out, right? You wouldn't know
Yeah,
what
or
to
the
do.
pearly gates, or child's gates on a playhouse or something. But yeah, um, and it could be that you're out walking around or flying around or however you get about, and you go, Oh, I guess there are no pearly gates.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
You
you'd be
know, there's going to
disappointed.
be a realization to a lot of people when they get there. Where's the pearly gates? Where's the pearly? Oh, crap. I don't think there are any. You know,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
going to be dead surprising to a crap load of people.
Well, of course. And then of course that shoots your idea down of God and worshiping and religion. And, I mean, I know a lot of people who've had NDEs that say to me that, oh, well, change my thought on religion. Maybe not the hereafter, but it's changed my feelings towards religion.
Good or bad?
Usually that they're they still believe in God, but they don't believe in the church stuff. It's hurt the church.
Yep.
They don't feel like they got to pray to God every day and they're going to hell. They realize there is no hell to go to. They already been there. So that, and I know one guy I met and he's like, if I died tomorrow, I'd be okay with it. It didn't bother me now. I'm happy. you know. Before he was terrified.
Yeah. Yep. And the Christian religion makes you feel guilty all the time. You're not good enough. You can't speak to God. You got to pray to, this other, you got to pray to a saint and ask the saint to go talk to Jesus for you. You got to go, oh my God. So when, in this apparently Gnostic religious thought that's thousands of years old, is that we're all part of the universe, period. And because we're a part of, they don't mention the quantum, but we are a part of the quantum, which is all the energy, all the goo of the universe, all the stuff that holds everything together. We are a part of it all. And there are folks who just can't accept that. I'm not a part of any, this and that and the other. I'm going, when I die, I'm going to go to the pearly gates and I'm going to sit on a cloud and all this. So they have to have an image in their head, right? They've got to have this picture that has been presented by most of, Christian religions, right? So, because I can sit here and tell you, so how do you describe a place where it's just a white room?
Yeah, that's really hard to describe.
But where's my I'm going to win. I get a prize, don't I? Well, yeah, you get to go to the pearly gates. Ooh, yay! Door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. I get to go to the pearly gates. Woo, woo, woo. But it's like, well, I get to go to the white room. What?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, you get to go to the white room. Then what? I don't know. I haven't been past it yet.
Yeah. That's why I think the other side is more real than we give it credit.
Oh yeah.
There's more going on over there than we can understand. Like I said, whoever is controlling the buttons over there or has the technology, they know that putting us in that white room, and stuff is a better place than just letting us, cross over into the wild and the wilderness. It's a better solution than just letting everything spin in the wind. Like there's a code or a process that everybody has to go through, when that happens. And it's a little bit different for every single person, even though it's kind of the same. So there's got to be something to it. That's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely. And I think that after talking with so many people myself, and really talking to them, like, how did you feel? What that this is common with everybody.
Yeah,
it's not just a few people or whatever, and that's why I don't think science is ever going to get there, because this is something I'm in my own quantum field right now as we're speaking. And in a way, I'm already in my heaven.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I am a part of this, my quantum field, which is a part of the bigger picture. So
Yeah.
I'm already kind of there. Not because I'm a shaman or whatever. It's because I'm a human being. And I'm spiritual. That's what qualifies me, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a human being and spiritual, then you're there. But so this quantumness of it, I'm already participating. It's this that when my body dies and the brain shuts off, the rest of me will migrate there.
Yeah. Well,
But I'm already a part of it.
I want to
That's
talk
why in the Bible, it's like Jesus says, you are with it, you're a part of, so yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about that in a way. And here's a good question for you. Now, they say that the older you get and the more closely you get to death time, before you die, older people start literally, like you were saying, crossing over already. They start seeing their loved ones, come and visit them. They, have conversations with my grandma. Did that. My grandma would tell me that, you know, um, before she passed away, about that was 6 months, maybe a year. She said she started seeing my grandpa would come to her, and it was so real. And they would have conversations and things like that, and it was just like he was there. And I mean, she literally broke down in tears when she talked to me about it. Um, and she says so real. And then when I woke up or whatever it was, or she says, and then here I am, I'm alone again. And she spent a lot of years alone. Um, and I'm thinking, wow, I just at the time I didn't understand it, so I just kind of blew it off like, oh, she's just dreaming. But I think the more I study on this, the more I think she was really seeing him. He was coming to her because she knew that she was getting close to crossing over. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes. The older I get, I actually feel there are times when my dream world is in a totally different place. And I'm
Okay.
like, where the hell am I? What is going on here? I woke up the other morning and I swear to God that somebody walked by the bed and I was like, who the hell is that? And I shook my head and went, how come the dog didn't bark? And I was like, oh, because there's nobody there. Ooh, that was weird. But I think that people who've had a long-term love relationship, that they have bonded in a way in the quantum field. They have touched. Their spirits have literally, come together and possibly melded together, at one point in time in this physical world. So that in my opinion, that does transcend the death thing, you know? I mean, I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and he was like, when my grandpa died, Granny died like a week later, and there have been times where, they just, whatever it is, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the other spouse, but they just got to go. So, but I think it's not anything bad. And I remember my granny, um, I went to see her before she passed because she lived in Zephyr Hills and I lived up here. So I'd go down to see her every other weekend when she got really bad. And I'm sitting there in a room with her and she's laying there in her little hospice thing. And I'm talking to her and she's looking up at the ceiling and she gets real quiet. And I'm just sitting watching. I know, I knew not to say anything. And then I see her do this. And then she looked over at me and she goes, "Oh, don't tell your mom you saw me doing this." And I said, "Grandma, what's up?" She goes, "I see Red, your grandpa up there, and I'm gonna go meet him."
Hmm.
And I said, "Well, good, Grandma. She said, but don't tell your mom and your Aunt Shirley because they won't understand. And I was like, Grandma, it's okay. But she was watching that ceiling. She was climbing her way up into heaven. And, and she was calm about it. She wasn't crazy, but she was like, but don't tell your mother or your Aunt Shirley because they won't understand. And she knew that I would.
Yep. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. They were getting close. She was getting close, and she could start. The veil between here and there was leaving.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden, it just tells you that there's so much or more around us, right around us that we can't see. I mean, it's like that. I had that lady on just the other day, and she was talking to the same thing. She says, a lot of these aliens and things we see and stuff like that, they're not going to other planets. They're already here. They're just, a different physical. They're in a different realm right here. Right here.
Nope.
No.
There are real aliens in spaceships traveling around. People who are there spirits and demons of the underworld stuff? Yeah. But everybody is trying to make aliens from no other. They can't travel through space. They can't go to other places. Oh, bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Bullshit. No, they're trying to. I'm sorry. It pisses me off. No, because they're both, but there are physical spaceships. How do I know? I watched one shoot another one down over my house one night. So that wasn't that was inner Earth or something. No. Have you ever watched the satellites of the sun? And you can see these spaceships flying by the dozens in 1 or 2 picture frames. Are you serious? Are you trying to tell me there are no? But anyway, so I'm sorry. These people who believe that UFOs or that aliens cannot exist on another planet or something are just full of it.
Well, yeah, but like I said, everybody's got their own opinion. And it's hard to distinguish. I mean, they're coming up with different ideas. Like in the last few years, now it's not UFOs, it's USOs, and they're thinking, well, they all got and UAPs. They got underground bases in the oceans and things like that because they're seeing them now go dive into the water. And I'm thinking, well, that kind of makes sense. They sure don't have bases on land, or we would see them by now.
No, they do have bases all over the place. That's for true. But for some of us, I found the Alien Races book almost 30 years ago. And so, and this is what the Russians had at the end of World War II, into the Cold War, into the 50s. They had a pamphlet that they gave their soldiers that listed like 70 different types of aliens with a picture and a description, and people say, oh, that's not true. Well, what about the Canadian Minister of Defense, who said that he knew of 9 or 10 or 11 different alien races? Oh, no, they're just demons and they're live in the ground, and they, there's that too. But if you think that there are no races that travel between the planets, oh well, if they were traveling by light speed, it would take them 40 years to get someplace. They're not traveling by light speed, dummy. They've got warp drive systems. They can go to the sun, go into the sun, and go to another sun someplace else. They act like little jump rooms. And that we've seen spaceships come out of the sun before. There are pictures and videos of this stuff. But for people, they can't allow their brains to go that far and admit that might actually be possible.
Yeah.
They listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson. Oh, you can't go from planet to planet. It would take centuries. Oh, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, but everybody has this opinion. They come up with reasons in their head. They try to make it right. I know people right in our chat room. Some people say there you can't escape the Earth. There's no way to travel to space. It's just not happening. And you know who you
That
are.
and it's a simple reason why science will never be able to explain this, because there
Mhm.
is a different dimension to this. They've been talking
Yeah.
about, being able to use quantum technology to be able to have instantaneous speech or communication with something, right? So, as
Mhm.
I'm thinking it, you're picking it up, right? It's instantaneous. So they're looking at that. So you, excuse my French, you dumbass. If they can do it with a phone call, don't you think they can do it with projecting themselves? I mean, if you can talk to somebody on the other side of the universe through the quantum tunneling thingy, then can't you like quantum tunnel and go there? I mean, come on. But the thing is that there is a whole nother level of physics that the mankind has not yet seen. So everybody's basing these things on current physics. And there are a lot of people, some of the scientists too, that are going, this thing about gravity is just not quite right. This thing about light and how it travels, it ain't quite right. So there are folks finding discrepancies in what used to be traditional science. It's only this way. So be careful, because this new age, this new year, this new golden era, I think is going to be where some scientists are going to be able to speak out what they've known for years, but that academia would not allow them to present,
Mhm.
which I think is going to include some other ideas about physics. But if you've got to go under the ocean without making a splash, which is what they go in and there's no splash,
Yep.
darlings, pay attention. That's a new kind of physics that you don't understand yet. So if you think they can go into the ocean and not make a splash, coming in or out, then they can travel from one star system to another, dummy.
I know. I agree. I agree. It's so much technology we don't understand, and we're like cavemen to them. But anyway, we're getting on an hour and a half. We're going to wrap this up.
Oh, goodness gracious.
You, yeah, can you believe that? Um,
Yeah, we can yak on.
everybody's getting late. It's a Thursday night. We don't want to go our 2 hours.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but are you going to do a later show tonight?
Maybe if I can get. I've been having big issues with getting a camera to work with YouTube. They
Okay.
I'm being plagued unmercifully, but I'm also being shadow banned and stuff by YouTube. I will put this out there, my dear friends. I did a live stream the other day, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, kind of thing, on my cell phone. Right, have done it off my
Yeah.
cell phone several times in the last couple of years. So I go to see where it's uploaded and make sure that it's not private. It's set to to public. It's not there.
Huh.
There is no record that I did a 2.5 hour live stream the other day. There's no
Really?
record that I was even on YouTube at that time. Nothing. And then I
Wow.
found out that I have done live streams before, and YouTube won't publish them. They won't make them public. And I've got at least 6 in the last 6 months that YouTube has kept from being published.
Wow. Wow.
Who am I? I mean, So, but
Yeah.
anyway, Barry was looking for something and he went to look for a video and he goes, "What'd you do? Not make it public?" And I was like, "No, dude, it's gone."
It's gone. So you got to go over and
So,
catch the live, people. You gotta go catch it live, and you're not getting it.
Yeah, my idea of hoping that it, well, you can watch it tomorrow, maybe not. So I love you. Thank you, Robert, for letting me voice my opinion here. And to those folks,
we're not shadow banned here yet, so you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. But anyway, thank you, everybody. And look at 1 hour and 30 minutes. But anyway, thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. It's been great having you on and having your story, David. Go over to his channel. Link is in the description below. He'll probably be over there in a little while, as soon as he gets some coffee and lets Duggar out and puts up the show. So give him a few minutes and get your coffee and sit down, relax, as you get filled full of information. Don't forget to join us again on Tuesday nights for Native American Myths and Legends, and where we'll have another great show. And of course, Saturday night, it's going to be a free-for-all get-together, and we're going to find out a good subject to talk about. So see you there then. With that, everybody, remember, go out and be the best person you possibly can. Have your own NDE. Don't end up in the white room too long, and be the frequency you want to receive. Love you all, everybody. Peace.
Cheers.